Hi there, I'm Manav Sinha. This is the Maruti Suzuki Fronx and I've spent 10 months driving this car for over 12,000 kilometers. There's a lot to talk about, let's get to it. Now before we begin, I have to start with a request for you to consider subscribing to the autoX YouTube channel. As you can see by the stats on the screen, a lot of you guys are watching our videos, however, you're still not subscribing. So please go ahead, make our day, subscribe to the autoX YouTube channel, like this video, share with your friends, comment down on the video, you know the drill. Please show us some love, it really means a lot to us. Now let's start taking a closer look at some of the elements of the exterior of the car and some observations I made through my time with the Fronx. What I want to talk about is the height of the headlamp right here. Especially in bad weather conditions, I was left wanting a little bit more. It's just my personal theory that if the headlamps were positioned higher up, we would have had better throw and that would have been helpful in bad weather conditions. But that is not to say that I have any complaints about the luminance that the light has. It does its job very, very well. Moving on, one of the things that happened, and we will show you a close-up shot of it, is these stain marks on the chrome elements on the car. It is something that you have to take care of. Now for reference, the water with which this car is washed at my home, we have quite hard water on supply. It could be one of the reasons, but it can be taken care of as long as the person who's cleaning your car takes special care and make sure this area is dried up properly. Now the same issue happened here on the wheel as well, especially on the Suzuki logo. Again, something to take care of while your ownership of the car. That very conveniently brings me to the side profile of the Fronx. And again, back to the wheel. I think that looks fantastic. Great design on the wheel. It's one of the best looking alloy wheels in the segment, I would say. And it looks especially nice when the car is in motion. Coming to the back of the car, well, this is where the party piece is. This is where the Fronx really shines, and that's because of the tail lamp cluster. With the connected light design, it really does stand out on the road. The other thing I want to note is this skid pad right down there. There's a nice joke that has run in the family, courtesy my naughty cousins, who said it looks like the car is wearing a diaper. Do you agree with that? Well, let me know in the comments. However, the reason why I mention this is because I've seen some of the cars with a gloss black element down here. I don't know if it's an official accessory or not, but it makes the car look really nice. And talking of accessories, well, one of the things that I've noticed on social media is the craze that the Maruti Suzuki Fronx has around itself. There are a lot of accessories out in the market. You can put some really nice wheels. Some people have lowered the suspension height on the car, giving it more aggressive stance. And all of those things actually go on to show that the Fronx is a fantastic starting point if you want to customize your car and have a sporting looking hatchback or an SUV, depending on how you want to refer to this car. But if it's a stylish looking car that you want, the Fronx really aces its part. And I think this is the best looking sub 4 meter compact SUV that you can buy in the market. That's a big statement, I know, but I've grown fond of the design. Now, let's hop on to the inside. Now coming to the interior of the Maruti Suzuki Fronx, well, it's a mixed bag, to be honest. At first glance, it does not keep up with the stylish exterior that the Fronx has, and to be honest, you're left wanting a bit more. It doesn't necessarily give you a sense of an all-new cabin experience once you're here. The other thing, once you're sat here, that is when the height of the car really comes into play, because you realize you're not seated that high. However, ergonomics are absolutely on point, and that is a big positive of the Fronx. The seats are wide, they have soft cushioning, and they support you well. And that becomes even better when you take into consideration that you can adjust the steering for reach and height, and you can adjust the seat for height as well. So you can really find that perfect ergonomic sweet spot for yourself. One of the things that I really miss in the cabin is, of course, a sunroof that you do not get on the Maruti Suzuki Fronx, but you do get good things like the pop-up heads-up display. It's good, it looks fancy, but to be honest, in my time with the car, after a few days the novelty factor wore off and I actually just kept it closed, and I've kept it closed ever since. So just my personal experience. What I liked were the AC aircon controls, which are nice and tactile and have this really satisfying click. The quality of plastics were not the best. There are some scratchy plastics, but when you spend the amount of time that I have with the car, you get used to it, and it's not something you observe daily. What I do want to talk about are screens. As for the instrument cluster, it's an analog setup. There's no digital display, not a full digital display at least. So that's something you will have to make do with. But the small MID does tell you everything you need to know. Speaking of the infotainment system, it comes with wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay, which is a fantastic touch. And speaking of touch, the touch response is really nice. The graphics are clean. It doesn't hang or anything. But in my time with the car, it did have some bugs. For example, if I had my phone on general, for reference, I have an iPhone 14 Pro Max. That's the phone I use with the car with Apple CarPlay enabled at all times. And if I have a notification, I lose access to music controls. So if I change the volume through the steering or the screen, I'm actually changing the notification audio level and not the music itself. So that was a bit of an annoying factor. I don't know why that happened, but over time it has appeared to solve those problems by itself. It's been a bit of a buggy experience, but other than that, the infotainment system is actually top notch. I like how it's sitting on top over here, great visibility, and I have absolutely no complaints whatsoever. Talking of the music experience, well, the speakers are really decent. They're not the best. That title of course goes to Tata Motors, but the Fronx will not leave you wanting more, would not make you want to go to an accessory shop and get a new system installed, if that's what you're wondering. Other bits include lots of compartment spaces to keep your knickknacks. You get a USB port up here, you get a 12-volt port, you get wireless charging pad, so your necessities are taken care of, but then again, you still are left wanting more from the interior. Right, lots of stuff have been spoken about the front seat. Let's get to the rear seat. Now coming to the rear seat experience of the Fronx, I've set the front seat as per my height. For reference, I'm almost 6 feet tall, and you can see I have loads of knee room on offer, and I can slide my feet under the seat as well. But this is a place where Fronx really comes short. Rear seat experience is definitely not the reason why you would want to consider buying the car. The under-thigh support is decent at best. Yes, I get adjustable headrests, actually 3 of them. That's perhaps one of the few good things back here. I do get AC vents and a couple of charging ports at the back here as well. But the reason why the Fronx falls short in this department is because of several factors that do not add to the sense of space. You see the sloping roofline. I have barely any space up left, so if you're over 6 feet tall, the headroom will be quite restrictive, and the large headrest of the front seats are obstructive in your vision. That also takes away from the sense of space that you get inside the car, and the small windows don't help either. And on top of that, there is no drop-down armrest over here. There is no sunblind, and these are the things that some of the competition in this segment are offering. But while these things I can still, at the end of the day, make do with, one thing that I wasn't very happy with is the fact that Maruti Suzuki did not put load sensors here at the rear bench in the Fronx, and as a result, as you can see, you always have to leave the seat belts clicked in, because if you don't, you'll be hearing those beeping sounds for 90 seconds non-stop every time you drive. Now, personally, on a personal level, whenever you're taking this car out, you will remember, okay, the seat belts are not plugged in. You'll come out, you plug them back in, and you'll be fine, unless somebody comes here and actually sits, because the first thing they'll do is take them off to sit comfortably, then put them back on, and when they leave, they don't know, they're not used to such a thing, so they will leave the seat belts unbuckled, and then you have 90 seconds of non-stop beeps. I think that is something Maruti Suzuki should fix ASAP. Coming to the boot space of the Fronx, well, it's decent in size. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that the loading height is a little bit high. So if you have heavy luggage, you're gonna have to do that. I did that. I've done multiple airport runs. I've picked several family members from the airport in this car. And I have to tell you, I've never left wanting more space. This has been decent enough. I can stack the briefcases up here. If need be, I can remove this shelf and go all the way up. And I can easily fit 2 absolute full-size suitcases back here and 3 medium-sized suitcases in case you're wondering how much space there is on offer. Well, now that we are done talking about the design, some observations, front seat, rear seat, boot space and the lot, it's now time to talk about the area where the Fronx really shines, which is the driving experience. And in order to start that segment, I'm standing here with the bonnet open, and there is a good reason for it. You see, the variant that I'm driving gets the 1-liter turbocharged booster jet Suzuki engine with the automatic transmission. This is the absolute top spec model that you can buy with the Fronx. However, it also comes with a choice of a 1.2-liter naturally aspirated engine, the tried and tested engine that's done duty on other Maruti Suzuki cars, and that can be had with an AMT transmission should you choose so. But this is where there's a bit of a confusion, because the Fronx variant distribution, I think that needs to be looked into, Maruti Suzuki, because you cannot get this 1-liter turbo engine in the lower variant, and you cannot get this top spec model with the 1.2 engine. You get the middle variant with both the options, but that's how the variant distribution is. It is what it is. Having said that, let's talk about performance. You see, with about 100 horses under the bonnet, it's average. It is not the best. Huh? Yes, you expected me to say that, didn't you? Because you have looked at the brochure and you think 100 horses are not enough. But let me tell you, having driven the car, this is plenty. You see, the Fronx is not a heavy car. So as a result, it is still quite a peppy car. Good performance, good acceleration, city commutes, highway drives, quick overtakes, you can do the lot. You will not be left wanting for more. Of course, if you want absolutely the most powerful engine in its class, that is not what the Fronx is, but I think it is enough. But this enough becomes great when you add the factor of the mild hybrid system that Maruti Suzuki has put along with the engine. As a result, you do get good efficiency from the engine. Now it's good, right? I know you were waiting for that. So let's talk about mileage figures. That will vary depending on how you drive it. I've tried to drive it perhaps both ways. So when I drove it with a light foot, when I was very cautious of how I'm driving, not going necessarily over 2000 RPM until unless I need to, the car managed to give me indicated 17.5 kilometers to the liter, which is fantastic. Now, the month where I was driving it with performance in mind, spirited driving all the time, if you know what I mean, the average actually dropped to about 11 kilometers to the liter. So you see, that's almost a 50% difference depending on how you end up driving the car. I found my middle spot to be at about 13 to 14 kilometers to the liter in the city and 17 to 18 kilometers per liter at the highways. So keep those numbers in mind. Well, now let's talk about ride quality, and let me just close this while I talk to you. Ride quality of the Maruti Suzuki Fronx is one of its strong points. The way the car has been set up is absolutely beautiful. The suspension is so on point, giving you that sure-footed feeling when you're driving it fast or when you encounter those bad roads. Now, of course, these tall sidewalls in the tires and the increased ground clearance as compared to the Maruti Suzuki Baleno give you that confidence to take on bad roads. And when you do so, it will take that with a smile. But keep in mind, this is not a hardcore off-roader, in case you're wondering. But bad roads is not something it is shy of. At high-speed corners, there is a bit of body roll, but it is still in a controlled fashion. And the Fronx is sure-footed even through those fast turns. There you have it. the Fronx is a delight to drive. Okay, now let's sum up my experience with the car. I think the Fronx does things slightly different and it really stands out of the crowd, and that is something I would like to do with the car that I own, and as a result, I really like the Fronx. It is a desirable Maruti Suzuki car, and I think that has happened after quite a long time, at least for me. But which variant would I put my money down for? Of course, this is the top spec turbo petrol variant with the automatic gearbox. So in a way, I've experienced the best of feature list that the car has to offer. And having gone through the brochure, I think you should really consider the 1.2 naturally aspirated engine, which comes in the middle spec variant and is actually quite good value for money. However, if you have budget to spare, go all out, get the turbo petrol top end variant, because that will give you a slightly better feature list. Yes, it's not up to par with what the market is offering these days, but it is still a very nice car to drive, to own, with low cost of maintenance, easy service, easy accessibility to dealerships. That's of course the Maruti Suzuki advantage, and I think the Fronx is the most desirable Maruti Suzuki on sale in the Indian market right now. And yes, I'm looking at you, Maruti Suzuki Jimny. Well, that's been it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Manav Sinha. Make sure you like the video and let us know if you have any questions about the Fronx down in the comments. I'll try to respond to as many as I can. Thank you so much for watching.